it's time for the Gianna Volpe Report, brought to you in part by Michael Evans, author of The Real Matrix, and by Maximus Health and Fitness, 130 East Main Street in Riverhead. She's here this morning, friends, with red lipstick.
That's it. That's all. It's just a little bit because I'm so sleep deprived.
It's this red lipstick like you've seen pictures of Gwen Stefani.
Right.
This platinum blonde with like these red fire engine red lips. That's Gianna this
Not
morning.
even. I just put a little
These
bit on.
huge, I mean, incredible red lips.
As if. Bruce, before we get started, I forgot the
Yeah, I
tomato
know.
sauce.
There's no tomato sauce sitting up here.
But I
feel like, you ever see that? You've seen The Godfather, right?
Yeah,
That's
I was about to say, I'm going to pay interest.
No,
just so
it's
you
not
know.
even that. It's not even that. If I see a jar of tomato sauce, I know we have a deal. And if I don't, I'll know that too.
Yeah, I didn't. I forgot to bring it. But I have 2 jars. One was for you and one's for me. But you can have both.
No. You got to eat the stuff. I mean, you're as Italian as I am.
I know.
Even though you didn't know what the strufoli was, I still can't get over.
So before we bring our guests,
we have to argue about tomato sauce first. Mark, just relax. We'll get to you. I swear we will.
And then also, okay, guess what? I saw Star Wars yesterday. I took my dad out for his birthday, and I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens in 3D IMAX, and I cried real tears. No joke.
This sounds like a song. I could cry salty tears. Oh yeah.
To Star Wars, yes.
No, I didn't. That stuff is not. Those movies have never intrigued me at all. They've never spoken to me.
My father is like a Trekkie and a total Star Wars nerd, so.
My son lives for this stuff. So. Now, on the other hand, if it was like, Godfather 6, I'd be in the theater yesterday.
That would be awesome. I'd be there too. Although, the third Godfather
that was not so
pretty
good.
Awful.
It was terrible is what it was.
Yeah, it was terrible. I think I watched the whole thing, but watch is being kind.
I kind of endured. I endured number 3.
The third Godfather.
That was it was awful.
The
only memorable line to come out of that was, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. That was it.
That's like you, Bruce. With me.
Every time you try to get out, I pull you back in?
Yeah. I'm just trying to make myself feel good.
I was going to say, when did I try? When did you try and pull out that I didn't know about?
Oh, well, no. Well, maybe when I moved to New Jersey.
Oh, God, I can't believe that.
That was a big part of the reason why I came back.
It's a darn good thing, because that Jersey thing wasn't really good.
No, and it was really, I couldn't hear my guests. They couldn't hear me. It's a problem.
It is.
So all right. So let's get on to our topic for this morning, which is affordable housing. It's a really important topic, especially for young people like me.
Think about this for a moment. Funny you should, but think about this.
Yes.
Now, Nassau and Suffolk counties combined are losing record numbers of adults 25 to 34.
Right.
And if you think about this, go to the next step. What happens if you lose the 25 to 34s? You start paying for firefighters.
Right.
Because that's the volunteer age.
Right.
Generally speaking, if you're not volunteering for stuff by the time you're 30, you're never going to do it. And if you're 35 and 40 and 50, you're not going to be doing the firefighter thing.
Oh, I don't know.
You're not going to start doing that.
Maybe. Well, that's not true. Beth is. Well, I guess she's...
You then lose the quality of life with, as far as Little League coaches go.
Right.
That sort of the volunteer thing goes poof.
General awesomeness.
I'm rolling my eyes. You can't see it, but I'm rolling eyes. Look into the speaker closely. It's me rolling my eyes.
I did a piece about this
But think about all the sociological issues. And then we're left with an island that's a retirement. It's like God's waiting room.
Yeah, I remember.
And on top of that, you then have sociologically the very wealthy, Sagaponack, or the poor, mastic, but nothing in between.
Right.
And that's the problem. So your guest is Marc Chiffert.
Yes.
He's doing a project, I think, in Spionk. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd read about this because I try and stay up on this sort of stuff, Mark.
Right.
How are you?
Yes, great. Thanks. So thanks for having me this morning. It's really a pleasure to be able to discuss and talk about affordable housing, because it's such an important issue in our area. And that's right. We're involved in, I've been involved in affordable housing for the last, I'm going to say 30 years, not to put too much age on my air. And we have an office. We're architects and engineers, and we design and help develop affordable housing projects, both in New York City and in Suffolk County. And here we're working right now on 2 projects, one on County Road 39 near the cemetery, and the other one in Spionk.
You're talking about Sandy Hollow Cove in Southampton?
No, Sandy Hollow Cove is a project that was approved. I'm not sure how it was approved. It's the density there is really an unusual density for our town.
Mm-hmm.
It's not close to transportation. To put 28 units on about 30 acres with a sewage treatment plant in an area that's not close to transportation, I'm not sure.
Right.
You know, yes, they may create affordable housing, but I'm not sure it's the right location or the right design for it.
What was the one? But now, where is this one? I'm trying to picture in my mind where the one you're talking about is on County Road 39.
No, the one on County Road 39, you're getting here a preview. We haven't really filed for it. It's a great location right near the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
It's a property. We're still working on it. And there we are using a similar design than the one for Spionk, where they are primarily 3 bedrooms, because we want to try to service our community. The idea is not to create affordable housing for people to come in from other states or from other area. We want to really to try to service our community. And in order to do this, that's why we're proposing 3 bedrooms to house young people who will have children, who will have, it's not a project geared to retirees or geared to, yes, I think we're going to have to bite the bullet in terms of schools. But I think that, as you said before, it's so important to keep the young population in our area.
Well, and I'm kind of also thinking, if you look at it statistically, and you've done the research, you know, that an affordable housing project adds 1 child per 3 units of housing. So the geometric increase of students in the schools really doesn't exist.
I couldn't agree more.
If you look at it statistically. Now, I realize there are people who are going to want to lynch me down the street for saying it, but that's what the research bears. That's what the research shows.
It may be different with
and the other interesting thing about this is you're probably old enough to remember, the original affordable housing program out here was the USDA Farmers Home Administration loans.
That's right.
Where the interest was subsidized, and that's how you could afford to pay for the house.
That's right. Well, there are, with affordable housing, just to make sure that everybody understands, there's really basically 3 avenues where people can take advantage of the affordable housing programs. The first one is the housing choice voucher, where based on the average median income, because everything is driven with affordable housing, it's based on the average median income. And in Suffolk County, the average median income is very high. It's around over close to $83,000 or $84,000. So if you make 60% of the average median income, you qualify for federal assistance. And this federal assistance comes basically in 3 ways. One, through the housing choice voucher, whereby you go to a agency like the Long Island Housing Partnership or the town of Southampton that receive vouchers, and you're able to get vouchers, and then you select your own housing, privately owned housing, and then the voucher, the person then will pay 30% of their income as rent, and the difference between the fair market rent and what the tenant pays gets paid through the voucher.
Okay.
The second avenue to be able to take advantage of subsidies for affordable housing is go into what's called Section 42 housing, which is our privately owned residential projects that have been financed with low-income housing tax credit.
Right, they've done some houses. There's been some houses.
And this is a great program that started under, in 1986, I believe it was the Bush administration.
86 would be Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah, maybe Ronald Reagan. That's when it was established. It was a great program. and it allows to be able to develop housing and restrict a certain number of units within the complex to income restricted
Oh, okay.
persons.
I was thinking about some of the actual private houses that they've built.
No, it can be also, this housing tax credit can be used for both. There are some programs that are on home ownership or single family developments, but they are mostly done on multifamily.
Okay.
On multifamily. And then the third venue to be able to afford yourself of subsidies is to go into public housing projects. Which here in Suffolk County we don't have that many.
No.
And that, but I think that to able to help and foster developments that are done with the low-income housing tax credit is really the way to go.
What's the scoop with the Spionk proposal?
Like the 81 North Phillips, where are you?
Well,
in the process?
we are working the town. There is we're proposing a project at 85 North Phillips.
Oh, it's 85. Okay.
85 North Phillips. There, it's 44 units on. 42 or 42 units, 3 bedrooms on a 7-acre property, and I think it's also a great design. They're all gonna be designed like little mansions, but within those mansions there will be 4 units.
Interesting.
4 units, so it will be like very much a sense of community, and there will be a community building. I think it's a great design. There is another project on a much smaller piece of property right by the railroad station that's also being proposed, but I think that project has much too high of a density. And the geometry of that parcel doesn't really lend itself very well for a housing project, the proximity to the train station. It should be much better used as maybe like a bookstore, library, or other use for the community, support than really housing.
So the 85 North Phillips is a lower density, because I know I saw that the CAC was saying the same thing about the 85 North Phillips, that they're worried about the density there.
We have the density, I believe that even for affordable housing or any multifamily, the right density is between 7 to 8 units per acre. Anything that exceeds 7, 8 units per acre is not appropriate for our area.
Right.
For example, at Sandy Hollow, they're putting 28 units on 3 acres, including including a sewage treatment plant. I mean, how they fit all this on that property is really, I'm not sure how they're doing it.
I'm glad to know that, because when you compare it, now I can see a lot easier what.
The other interesting thing, you mentioned sewage treatment plant, right? Now, that's the big ticket. I mean, everything in Southampton is a matter of wastewater going in the bay, right?
Right.
And there are now, I'm told from the former supervisor, Anna Thronholz, that there are actually like cluster wastewater treatment facilities that don't require a huge sewer plant like Riverhead has, or Bergen Point.
Exactly. No, I think the idea of having like a smaller sewage treatment plants, like up to, let's say, between 10 to 15,000 gallons per day, it's the right approach, and it's going to clean our water. It's going to provide, it's good all around, and these are not huge plants that they don't create any real nuisance for our community nor for the neighbors. They're like small plants that's the right way to do. I mean, I'm originally you can see from my accent, I'm originally from France, where, septic systems have been outlawed since the 60s. I mean, you cannot, I mean, the way we are allowing even cesspool to still be on is not proper for our community.
Well, the other thing that we don't do, and I had suggested this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because is that we send a lot of the wastewater here, goes to sewage treatment plants, and Nassau County is virtually all sewered.
I didn't know that.
And Western Suffolk is very heavily sewered. It all gets pumped out into the ocean, which therefore invites saltwater intrusion, which means the groundwater you won't be able to drink it at some point.
Well, you're right.
Then on top, but the easy solution would be, instead of dumping it into the ocean, recharge it back into the ground.
Right. There is 2 elements. Out of a sewage treatment plant, you have the sludge.
Right.
And the sludge gets pumped out to Bergen Point. Most of the sewage treatment plants in Long Island, they go get to Bergen Point, and then it gets recycled as fertilizers. And then the effluent we have in Suffolk, the quality of the effluent coming out of the sewage treatment plant is governed by the Suffolk County Department of Health, and their standards are pretty low. I mean, they are when compared, in many counties in the United States, and the water quality standards of effluents coming out of sewage treatment plants are much higher. Some of them even require almost drinking water quality standards. So, but this normally gets put back either in an open water body or could be recharged into the groundwater.
Yeah. Anyway, I've taken up your whole interview, Gianna.
That's all right. That's all right. We're going to be coming back anyway, and we'll have Mark with us.
Yes.
This is good because we got a lot to go over.
All right, thank you so much.
Are we taking a break now?
We're going to hit the break now, and we'll be back after the break on
With
the Gianna
Marc
Volpe
Chiffert.
Report from WRIV Radio. Back on the Gianna Volpe Report, brought to you by Maximus Health and Fitness, 130 East Main Street, Riverhead, and by Michael Evans, author of The Real Matrix, with our guest, Marc Chiffert.
Thank you.
So I'm trying really hard to behave because the hostess here has some cockamamie idea we should talk about renewable energy. And,
no, I wasn't saying we should talk about it. I was saying that I liked that CAEC, is that correct?
Yes.
It has a focus on renewable energy. And I think that's interesting.
And Southampton, and you know this, Mark, Southampton Town has this whole big code about sustainable construction and that sort of jazz.
Yes, absolutely. But, how sustainable is it when you build a house and you build it, even a LEED-rated house, and then, 20 or 30 years later, you demolish it all and rebuild it?
Yeah.
How sustainable is that? I mean, you have to look at the real long term.
How long? People use that, the long term, but now how long is the long term, Mark?
Well, I think we should build use more like cement, masonry, build it for a little bit longer than just next 20 years or 30 years, or just the lifetime of the mortgage.
Right. I think that's great because there's a lot of construction going up all around the country. It's really just it's slapped together. The materials are very low cost, stuff that's not going to last.
And a lot of it's wood frame construction.
Right.
It's like.
And how sustainable is wood frame?
That's the question. That's the $64,000 question. I was a little kid in Queens. We lived in a semi-detached. I mean, this thing was built in 1910.
Right.
It was all concrete, That thing will be standing long after we're gone. Same thing with the, I don't know about the house in Brooklyn, the semi-detached there. That was built in 1920. But they did a lot of wood frame, even with the semi-detached in the city.
Are there more challenges building for the long term, building sustainably out here because of how sandy the soil is? I mean, versus building up island or in New York?
Well, to have such a sandy soil makes it much easier to build.
Oh, okay.
Makes it much easier. We don't have the septic systems work much easier. There's no problem of blasting.
But what about when it settles? Does it settle more?
No, not really.
Huh.
Not really. I mean, once you size the footings appropriately, it's not. Just the issue is just along the waterfront. We are there, with the raising water. That's
Yes.
why we have
But
something
wouldn't you
has to
have
be
that
done.
anyway, even like around Battery Park in Manhattan? That's Battery Park that's all bedrock.
No,
I would
it's
imagine-
actually it's all fill. It's all fill. But there, you see, the idea is that the construction techniques are different. Around Battery Park or in those areas they use, because they are like a high-rise building, the foundations are with piles. And so they're able to build it in a way that there's not going to be any settlement.
I'm just this whole thing has sparked my curiosity, has aroused my curiosity, because we talked about the affordable housing thing. We talked about a little bit about Spionk. I don't think we fully.
And I wonder
exhausted that.
about as far as 85 North Phillips, if it's going to get in easier because there's no Section 8, elements to the project.
No. In this case, in 85 North Phillips, we're really focused on servicing our community. We are not trying to. There's no provisions on the. This will be funded with low-income housing tax credit, and at the state level, you're eligible for state low-income housing tax credit if you make 90% of the AMI.
Oh, okay.
At the federal level, it's 60%, but at the state, it's 90%. So it's really geared for young professionals, teachers, architects, engineers, or young professionals that for our area, servicing our area.
Because that's the other thing that you have here. You talked about teachers and cops and architects like yourself. But the job market is such out here that the median household income in Riverhead Town is, I think, $63,000. It's not much higher in Southampton. And people don't believe, but it's very true, and you know this, Mark, that the median household income in Babylon Town is much higher than the median household income in Southampton Town or East Hampton Town or Riverhead Town.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then the way the formulas that they used for to calculate the average median income and the way it's done by county, it's really completely outdated. It's something that actually even the City of New York has only one AMI, which is the most ridiculous thing. And they should now, with the new technology and with the way we are able to analyze data, the government needs to, and HUD needs to come up with a new way to calculate average median income and be able to pinpoint much better, the areas that need this affordable housing, need the subsidies versus areas that are within the same county that may not need that same type
New
of
York
subsidies.
City has only one
AMI
for
the entire
5
city.
boroughs, 8 million people.
That's right.
But you and I know it's a practical reality. There are very affluent, rich areas of Manhattan.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's like East New York and Brooklyn, which is a very impoverished area.
That's correct. Even though East New York is now, Brooklyn is now not what it used to be.
It was funny because in the 70s, my mother grew up in Bushwick, and in the 70s, you didn't want to be in Bushwick.
You didn't want to go there.
It was burned out during the blackout in 1977. Johnny, you weren't even a gleam in your mother's eye. But now it's like
Hipster Central.
the hipsters, like, they long to live there. And I'm thinking to myself,
totally gentrified.
I saw these buildings like,
place.
in the 60s, and there was,
that was always my
you wanted
plan.
to get out of Bushwick, and now people are dying to get in.
That's right.
The prices have skyrocketed. It's, it's a completely different place. I remember that was my plan after I graduated college. I was going to move to Brooklyn. And then once it got to, I ended up moving out here instead. And I went to Brooklyn and I saw a kid locking his bike up and he was wearing a top hat. And I was like, oh, Brooklyn, what happened to you?
Oh, it's hipster central.
Yeah.
Like you could take a drive up Flatbush Avenue from right off the Bell Parkway to Prospect Park, and you can see the whole thing.
That's what's happening to
Hipster
Patchogue.
Central.
That's what's happening to Patchogue now, and they say that will happen to Riverhead one day. They call us the.
Don't worry,
the
Mark. You
view
and I
is
won't
that
live long enough to see that one.
That's right.
Oh yeah. We're a little bit behind. We're on our way though.
We still use adding machines.
Right. No, even though they had some great plans to bring more jobs to the Riverhead area, and one of them was they were planning to combine all the TRACON, the traffic control, from the Boston area all the way to Jersey, and create a gigantic TRACON area right in Riverhead in Calverton.
At EPCAL, yeah.
At EPCAL.
And I thought that was a great project. I mean, it made sense for traffic control. It made sense all the way around.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that they couldn't swing it.
That was, I think the federal government finished that one off, and they decided instead to invest the money, I think, in Westbury.
Well, or Garden City.
Or Garden City.
Yeah, Garden City, and then spread. I thought that Senator Bishop was, going to bring it home, but
yeah, couldn't. Didn't have the votes. Didn't have the votes, and that's always a problem.
Right.
Speaking of that, so now what is the status of your proposal as it makes its way through the town approvals process?
Well, we right now for that particular project in Spionk, we just like the one on County Road 39, we are still working with the community. We want to make sure that we have community support.
Right.
So we are meeting with the CACs. We're going to be making a presentation for the one on County Road 39, I think, in early February. So it's very important for us and for our clients to be in sync with the community and make sure that we are servicing the community. And then once we have this in place, we'll then make the formal proposal to the town.
And that's
But I think that
important.
yes, I think the initiative that the Jay Schneiderman is proposing to make it easier to create accessory apartments within large homes or it's a great initiative. I think it makes a lot of sense to create like sort of in-laws apartments within very large homes. I think it's a great
because that's
proposal.
another. Yeah, I mean, the lack of jobs is part of why we are seeing such flight, but also rentals. And I mean, building affordable housing is just one piece. But yeah, there's so many people who already have apartments in their house, and it's there's been like especially here on the North Fork, they're starting to crack down on that.
Right.
So trying to work it out so that
it can be legal, it can be proper, it can meet certain standards, they can be properly inspected. It's a win-win situation because it's something that unless you work with what the market forces are, that's the way to do it. If you don't work with the market forces, you start to create an under-the-table economy, and that's not what we want here.
Yeah, I mean, then you have a lot of basement, like in Babylon Town, there were a ton of basement apartments that are of questionable legality. In other words, do they have a CO?
That's right.
Do they have two means of egress?
You know what excites me?
The basic safety stuff.
Is thinking that if we build more affordable housing, that we would be easing the trade parade on Montauk Highway and.
Oh, that will, as long as there's a Sagaponax, that's not going to happen, Marty. Because, someone's got to take care of the bowling pins in Ira Rennert's, what is that, a 55 room with its own bowling alley and indoor swimming pool estate?
That's right.
Now, you and I remember, probably, because you and Mark and I are not the same age, but probably closer in age than you and I are. But you and I, you remember when Sagaponack was nothing but farmers.
That's
remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
And it was like, finding somebody on the Sag Main Road was like, huh?
That's right.
Like Doug's Vegetable Patch was the big commercial institution in Sagaponack.
Yeah, but it's an amazing house. It's right on the, actually, the Reynolds house is right on the flight path when you come to land at East Hampton. It's really an amazing property.
I want to bowl there.
So here's a guy with all this, who built this house in a lap of luxury, who gets to hear airplane noise and helicopter noise when he's out, sunning himself in the summer on a Sunday afternoon. It's great. Planning was not his strong suit. And given that he's been in court over that, it really wasn't his strong suit. But it's funny, but you get used to these things, Gianna, really. People in Howard Beach got used to it. I live on the approach, under the approach to Gabreski in West Hampton Beach. You get used to it. I know when Hillary and Bill are coming into town.
You just know when not to.
Well, no, you just get used to it. You almost don't even hear it. Really.
No, I'm just talking about traffic in general. The trade parade, just like not being
That's
able
because you don't know the shortcuts.
Right. I'm learning.
You don't know the shortcuts. Like there's the Noyak Road shortcut.
Right.
Or if you miss that, turn off by Jennifer Convertibles, then you got to go up to Hayground Road.
Same thing on the North Fork. We've got the Boulevard.
Yeah, well, the Boulevard's always a good shortcut.
Mm-hmm. Well, except for this, it's arguable this past season.
Although I will say I was in Mattatuck.
Really?
Yeah, this is back in October, Columbus Day to be exact. You ever have a taste for like ice cream?
You know what? I think that we actually
and I ended up going down to the Boulevard, and I ended up getting lost and going to the Boulevard. What?
What? You got lost?
I got lost.
How?
I made a wrong turn.
The North Fork is like 2 roads.
Oh, no, it's 3. There's 25 Sound Avenue and Boulevard.
Boulevard. Right, but I don't like to include the Boulevard because I don't want too many people.
Excuse me. Don't say anything. The Boulevard is another shortcut on the North Fork. It goes all the way out to like Mattatuck, and
Right.
it terminates
So that's
in Aquabog.
Mm-hmm. I take it every...
Easy access right off Hubbard Avenue.
I take it every time I come to the show.
Or New Suffolk Avenue on the other end.
I
How'd I
love
do?
New Suffolk Avenue.
Anyway, we're kind of pressed for time.
We are?
We don't.
It was a great show.
This is a fabulous show.
I loved talking about affordable housing. We'll do it again sometime.
Mark, I really appreciate your time this morning. I'm sorry that we interrupted you with a ton of yucks, but it was actually quite educational and informative, and I really, really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity.
And best of
thanks
luck.
a lot. You
Best
too.
of luck with your projects.
Okay.
We'll do this again sometime.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll see you next week, Bruce.
Thank you very much.